Hello. So, I've always looked at those women, those crazy bag ladies, talking to themselves, on the corner of 38th and 9th Avenue, looking a little out there. I was never supposed to become one of those women. I looked at them with a lot of pity and sadness. Even though I grew up with privilege as the eldest of 4 children and the daughter of 2 very successful clothing designers, I still felt that I really wanted and needed to prove to myself and to others that I could work hard. So I did many things. I acted off-Broadway at a young age. I produced a lot of film and television. I designed clothes. I had art shows. Again, no one would ever assume that somebody like me would end up looking like that crazy bag lady. So I'll go back in time a little bit and give you a sense of how all of this started. When I was 7 years old, my family took a little vacation somewhere on the East Coast. I don't remember if it was the Hamptons or Nantucket or, one of those cute little towns. And the only souvenir that I came back with on that vacation was a seemingly insignificant tick bite right here on my tummy. So my mother took the tick off with a little pair of tweezers, put it into a plastic bag, sent it off to be tested. And actually, her precaution and education at the time was pretty advanced for a mother living in the 90s. So the test came back, negative, inconclusive, borderline. Ultimately, I went undiagnosed and untreated. So this was due to a major failure in the testing protocols at the time, which sadly have not improved to this day, as well as doctors who did not know what to look for. Little did I know, the tick was carrying 2 very debilitating diseases: Lyme disease and babesiosis, which is like the cousin to malaria. So you can imagine how terrible that is. And as time went on, I experienced a lot of unusual symptoms. When I was 7 years old, it started with joint pain in my knees and my hips. I started to become very tired during school. I started to get headaches, regular headaches. And then the symptoms progressed. I passed out. My ability to read was impaired. I was hospitalized for anxiety attacks. I had no memory, was unable to retain information. I actually thought that I was just dumb. I experienced major chronic fatigue, muscle pain, vision loss. Actually, when I was driving or walking to go places, I would get lost, going to very familiar places. Ultimately, my brain completely shut down. Now, I want to underscore 2 fallacies that are integral to understanding this experience. A, that only wealthy white women get this disease. Lyme is actually in all 50 states and in 80 countries. Lyme disease does not care what kind of shoes you have, what kind of car you drive, where you grew up, what your hair looks like. It does not discriminate, and it can happen to anybody. In fact, the majority of people working outside have Lyme disease, and they don't even know it. And even if they did have the resources to find an accurate way to diagnose themselves, they still wouldn't be able to help themselves. Which brings me to the second point. That somebody like me will get the best medical attention. In fact, the protocols necessary for diagnosing this disease are as old and obsolete as the typewriter. Some doctors are so uneducated that you can come to them with a bullseye rash, telling them you got bit, with the list of symptoms, and they'll still deny you. Unfortunately, the most people affected by Lyme disease are children between the ages of 3 to 14 years old, because they're the ones outside the most. And still, they're denied treatment. Now, the CDC tells us that Lyme disease is the fastest growing infectious disease in our country currently. There are more new cases of Lyme disease, get this, than breast cancer and HIV combined. But nobody knows that, do they? So finally, when I was 18, going on 19 years old, just as a TV show that I was starring in and produced was airing, I experienced a major nervous breakdown. It had been coming for a long time. I wasn't making sense when I spoke. I had no time or space awareness. I was severely nauseous. I was unable to eat. I was in a complete mental fog. I was always a very spiritual, connected person, but I was having major spiritual revelations and writing them on the walls in my mother's home. I thought that there were bugs living in my body, which there were, but we didn't know it. I defecated on a silver tray and handed it to my father to test because I thought he would be able to find some answers. I was crazy. And what many people don't know about Lyme disease is that it can cause manic and psychotic episodes, just like the ones I experienced, or the one that I experienced. Once Lyme disease crosses the blood-brain barrier, not only does it debilitate memory, your ability to speak and have a conversation, but it completely debilitates brain function in all areas. So you end up looking like a crazy bag lady. A lot of people are misdiagnosed with Lyme disease. I mean, not with Lyme disease. They're misdiagnosed with Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue. I was one of them. I was misdiagnosed with fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, chronic fatigue, anxiety disorder. So I thought that going to Jamaica would be the answer to all my problems. Unfortunately for me, my father staged an intervention. He told me he was going to be taking me to Jamaica, put me in the car with a security guard. My mother was screaming. He said, "Okay, let's go to Jamaica." I packed a bag, got in the car. I said, "You're not driving me to the hospital. You're not driving me to Jamaica, to the airport. Where are you going?" He said, "I'm driving you to the hospital." When we arrived at the hospital, they forced him to drug me and to check me into a psychiatric facility. When I woke up the next day realizing I was not in Jamaica, I was very scared, very, very, very angry, confused, frustrated, sad. I felt misunderstood. But little did I know that this would be the major, major pivot to my very necessary road to recovery, very painful as well. Thankfully, a psychiatrist in the hospital connected all of the dots, and she suspected that I might be dealing with untreated Lyme disease. I told her there was no way. Although all of my previous Lyme tests had come up as inconclusive or negative, she still demanded that I go see another doctor. So I went. The blood results came back. The results were through the roof. My body was riddled with Lyme disease and Babesia. Now, I felt like I had won the lottery. I really did. I thought, oh my gosh, the cure is upon me. I can take an easy course of antibiotics and done. I had no idea there was no cure for long-term Lyme disease. No idea. The diagnosis was just one little element of the process. So once I had this diagnosis, which took 11 years, many false negative results, and nervous breakdown, I was put on a very aggressive course of antibiotics, horse pills, baskets of them. And I would take them, and I would have a major flare-up called a Herxheimer, and I'd get a lot worse before getting better. So 6 to 9 months of being on these treatments, I finally felt like I could take on the world, that I could go back out there and prove to myself and others that I could still work hard. And I could make up for lost time, only to find myself crashing and burning months later. This became a cycle of ups and downs, relapsing, feeling better, thinking I was better, then relapsing all over again. You can imagine the frustration and disappointment. I was on this roller coaster for 7 years. I had an IV in my arm into my heart for 7 months, traveling between Europe and New York, attaching the IV on a hanger with a flight attendant helping me. All the while, drinking Diet Coke, smoking Marlboro Lights, having a great old time, and eating cereal while in bed and watching a lot of episodes of 24. After one of my last major relapses when I was 25 years old, my father suggested I try alternative medicine, Chinese medicine, homeopathy, acupuncture. He said that no stone should go unturned. At this point, I was completely overwrought, frustrated, angry. I felt sorry for myself. There was not one summer in my 20s that I did not spend bedridden. And antidepressants only did so much. So, I had to make a decision. Do I want to live, or do I want to die? I had this vision of myself possibly one day having a great life, a full life, out of bed. No longer vicariously living through the travel channel, but actually getting on an airplane and going and experiencing the world. Maybe even becoming a mother. So I decided that I'd give it one more shot, along with a lot of self-acceptance, discipline, self-love. I went and I tried everything, and my body responded extremely well to aggressive homeopathic treatments, meditations, special diets, complete lifestyle change. Any alternative form of medicine I explored. Now, I believe in this idea of having a toolbox. We all need a toolbox in life, right? And through my experiences, I have gained some of the coolest tools, I believe. A lot of them are for free. They include visualizing myself well and healed and healthy and strong. Written exercises such as written intentions and focus wheels adapted from Abraham Hicks, adapted by Sheila Bath. I write about these in my book and on my website. Special diets and juices and tonics to help lower inflammation. Different diets. Understanding that the most important element to dealing with this monster of a disease and managing a chronic disease that will always probably be in me is that I not only have to keep myself physically balanced, but also mentally, emotionally, and spiritually balanced. I'm not perfect at it. I go up and down. I remember to be forgiving of myself, love myself, take good care of myself, and to say, life's too short. I laugh at myself. I remember that I have amazing list of friends who have wonderful perspectives on life, who I can call at any time and say, I'm really having a horrible time. I'm kind of falling into self-doubt, and them lifting me back up. I have a wonderful arsenal of healers and doctors and therapists. And I'm sure Mind Body Green can offer us many more tools. So, the main point that I want to emphasize today, and always, is that I'm no longer a victim. I'm a survivor. And I was able to transform from being a victim into a survivor, a healer, and a warrior. So thank you for listening, and I hope you can do the same. Thank you.